Hello, everyone. My name is Sohaila Bana. I'm the chair of West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council. Thank you very much for coming to our quarterly advisory meeting, which is very important to keep us all in touch as stakeholders for wildfire safety in West Contra Costa County. We really appreciate exchanging of experiences, announcements, news, and planning collaborations here. I also appreciate our sister organizations, other fire safe councils, and our legislature representatives here from their offices. Thank you all for coming. So, because we have a lot on the agenda today, I'm going to get it started with announcements. I wonder if there is anyone from Richmond Fire Department here to talk about, oh, I'm just admitting Fire Chief Osorio. So Marilyn, would you like to get us started? And then we go to Chief Osorio with about the demo garden, Firewise demo garden. Unmute, please.
No use blithering with the mute on. So on the MOU, it's really exciting. You see, and they're the hard ones. And West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council have signed off on the MOU. And Fire Chief Osorio is going to work on putting it on the Richmond City Council calendar agenda. And then this last week, I want to mention that we did a walkthrough with our new Parks and Landscape Maintenance Superintendent, Jason Lacey, and Alex White, who's the Richmond Park Supervisor. And they do a lot of this tree work and so forth. There were some trees that remained behind. And one of them will have to be dealt with after the open house because it has to be contracted out to people who can climb half-dead, dangerous trees. But they will take out the other 3 oaks because the oaks are allelopathic and these trees are capable of growing to 50, 60 feet wide.
Thanks. So when is it going to be open or ready to get working?
That is a city council.
Okay. Well,
we can't do anything other than sort of sneakily get in there and clean up stuff or work on, as just general volunteers until city council approves. And then the city manager can sign, I assume, the next day.
Thank you. So we have Chief Osorio here. Chief, if you could please update us and announce the open house at Fire Station 63 and update us on the Firewise demo garden, please. Quickly.
Also in the garden, Marilyn did a lot of the hard work trying to get to the finish line. So thank you for doing that. And then I asked her to provide me some brief narratives I can use jumpstart an agenda report. It will have to go through a process with the city for legal opinion and a few other. There's a workflow it has to go through. I'm trying to get it on before council recess. That's my goal. She's doing a horrible job at sneaking up to the garden and working. She does it in broad daylight, but there's no sneaking going on. We're doing some pre-work, trying to get it ready to go so we can hit the ground running when it's all official. So that's definitely city sanctioned work and collaboration going on up there. So thanks, Marilyn. As far as open house, May 17th, between Susan and Marilyn, the ladies that I've been working with at the Fire Safe Council, they've also been doing a lot of the groundwork on it. We've had a number of planning meetings, so we're still a go. There's a few items left on the to-do list, but it looks like we are locked in. We've got vendors, we have speakers, all revolving around different aspects of wildfire preparedness and prevention. May 17th, Station 63 on Valley View. The corner. I believe it starts at 10 a.m. and goes till 2.
11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
11 to 3. Okay.
Thank you.
there'll be pizza, there'll be speakers. Just encourage you to stop by, take a look. There might be something there that catches your interest, especially now with how rules are changing in defensible space. I think there's going to be some vendors there that specialize in non-flammable fencing and other types of home hardening techniques. East Bay Parks will be there. So if you have any questions about how they make their facility and their park space, there'll be a rep there from them. So I welcome everybody to come by, and I will be there and try to meet as many people as I can.
Costa County Diablo Fire Safety Council.
Thank you very much. I believe this is the first open house we're having that's specifically focused on wildfire safety, and I believe the majority of our advisory board members have been invited to have tables. If you're not and interested to join, please let us know. I'm glad to see Chief Healy from East Bay Regional Park District. Would you like to update us on change of leadership? Unmute, please. Sorry.
Hey, how's it going? I had another meeting that overlapped. Yes, so Chief Tiley retired about a month and a half ago. I'm the acting fire chief, and Patrick McIntyre is the acting assistant fire chief. So he's in charge of fuels while I'm in charge of fuels, operations, and lifeguard services.
Thank you very much. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
You've been a great partner with West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council. I appreciate it. The next announcement I make, I was at the League of, and by the way, congratulations, Chief Healy. I was at the League of California Cities meeting where the guests were Senator Tim Grayson and Senate President Mike McGuire, and they announced Wildfire Safety Roundtable in our area on May 30th. I insisted that fire safe councils should be at the table. They invited me, and I would like to ask if anyone else is invited or knows about it, so we can discuss a strategy, how to move, because it's an excellent opportunity to move the agenda at the legislature level. Anyone? No?
I have not heard.
Okay.
If you ask them to invite us, you might ping them again.
I definitely will. Thank you for letting me know.
That's when I think all the members of the Alliance, the Fire Safe Council heads, would all want to attend.
Okay, I'll do my best. Thanks. You. Of course. I'm glad to say we have two presentations today. The first one is by Chief Ed Orre from CAL FIRE, because I keep hearing about the task force, and I'm not sure what its exact function it is, and we fire safe councils, if we could have any connection or collaboration or request to them. So I asked for a presentation. Chief, if you're here, could you please get us started? Yeah, I see.
Yeah, can I do a screen share?
Sure, yeah, you're enabled. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so the Wildfire and Forestry Resilience Task Force started quite a few years ago. It as an offshoot from the Tree Mortality Task Force. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. Remember several years ago when the tree mortality in the South Sierras was out of control and making the news quite a bit. CAL FIRE, several other state and local agencies formed this forest mortality task force. And it was a new model for collaboration of all levels of government, federal, state, local, NGOs, private companies. And they created a structure that worked very well. CAL FIRE supported it immensely. We bought a lot of equipment, loaned out, and they created several standing committees and regional groups. Well, as that mortality event subsided, then the wildfire crisis in California was ramping up, and that task force morphed into this Wildfire Enforced Resilience Task Force. And so I think the quickest, easiest way for me to show you what they are about is to just show you some of their website. So let me see if this will work here. If you go to well, it looks like my computer's locking up. Let me see here. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There, now it's working. So I'd rather than read anything to you or play anything, I'd encourage you to go to this website. There's a good video here from Patrick Wright, who's the chair, and he can explain what the organization's about. And you see here the organizational structure, the regions, and who's behind all of this. So this group has a lot of juice. And while they may be focused on WUI and the more remote areas, they are still very concerned about our more urban WUI issues as well. And this group has the juice to affect some major changes. And I think it would be worth your while to follow them, sign up for their newsletter, and be notified. They have quarterly meetings. They alternate between online Zoom meetings based in Sacramento and in the field meetings, where they'll have one day of panel discussions, and then the next day they'll go out and do field trips. And the cost is very reasonable, and they talk about all the local issues around the state that are important to us as well. So they also have something that's really cool I want to show you is a viewer of where projects have been done. So if you go to the dashboard, sorry, it's taking a little bit to load. So this is where projects have been done. And many different state agencies have contributed to this. I know Contra Costa Fire was interested in having their projects be included in this, and I think they're working on that. But if you zoom in, you can see a number of projects, and depending on how close you are, some projects like disappear. You see what I mean? Like here. But Caltrans contributes to this, Cal Fire. Some of these projects may be in the works, and some may be completed, some may be in the near future. So, it's sometimes hard to determine, but this will give you a good inkling of where your tax money's going, where the emphasis is, and who's behind it. So you can focus in on just our area, and then there's different graphics here that show what type of work's being done. So, and then like if you wanted to click over here, state parks, for example, they're doing a lot of mechanical and prescribed fire. Whereas like Cal Fire, I'm not sure where we're involved with targeted grazing, but perhaps we are. I'm not sure what Forest Service there is. So take this with a grain of salt, but it's only going to get better.
So do they, what is their role with regards to policy and budget?
There are, let me find the work groups here. So these are the standing work groups. So the regional framework has policy issues that are more unique to our area. The science advisory panel, same thing. But this group has standing committees that focus on policy, on regulation, financial support. For example, one of the things that we're sorely lacking in the Bay Area is any kind of a facility to send biomass to. We don't have any cogen plants locally. We don't have pellet mills or anything of that sort. And this is the group that could be very influential in trying to bring some of those incentives to our area to encourage public-private partnerships to make opportunities open up.
Thank you very much. Henry, you have a question? Go ahead quickly, please.
Yes, simple question, maybe a complicated answer. How can the Alliance of Fire Safe Councils in the East Bay submit a multi-million-dollar application under the governor's executive order to remove hundreds of blue gum eucalyptus trees from the WUI without triggering CEQA?
Well, with the most recent proclamation from the governor, there is going to be some CEQA suspensions and other regulatory relief.
That's the question. So
CAL FIRE is not in a leadership role in that effort. It's the California Natural Resources Agency. So if you saw the
is that where the application would be sent?
Yeah, so here is the homepage for the task force. And click right here. And that will take you to where the application is. And that's where you would want to make a compelling case. And so bear in mind that there can be relief from CEQA process and some other permitting and that sort of thing. But yes, this does not suspend any of the state or federal laws or local regulations, tree ordinances, and things like that. You still have to comply with all of those things. But it would allow you to get started much quicker. A few years ago, we did a big project, and I kind of described that process as trying to build an airplane as we're trying to get it off the ground.
I know the city of Berkeley is exploring this avenue through the executive.
I'm so sorry, Henry, but we're short in time. We have to continue. Chief, please go on with the presentation. If you have questions, Henry, please put them in the chat.
Yeah. So anyway, I just encourage you, in the interest of time, to just go to this website and look around. There's a lot of resources there. This is a very influential group, and if you can attend or communicate with some of the members on what help or issues you feel are important that aren't being addressed, this is a group to do it.
Thank you. I'm not clear if they have budget or it's interagency and each agency has its own budget.
More of the latter, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any more quick questions for the chief, including you, Henry? Okay. Thank you so much, Ed. We move to the next presentation then. It's by John Wentworth, who proposed something cool to the task force, and I believe it was approved. I learned about John's work through a group of city council members all over California concerned about wildfire safety through Civic Well Conference. John, please, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. Real pleasure to be here with everybody. And Chief Ed, thank you very much for that setup. That couldn't have been better, couldn't have been more perfect. So I'm going to walk you through a deliverable that has come out of the Wildfire Task Force. I will walk you through it. So we produced one of only 2 published strategies from the California Wildfire Resilience Task Force. This is California's joint strategy for sustainable outdoor recreation and wildfire resilience. And I think in your communities, you're going to find a lot of opportunities with this published document from the state of California coming from the Wildfire Task Force. My name is John Wentworth. So thanks for the introduction. I'm an elected official in Mammoth Lakes. I also run a nonprofit foundation that has built a trail system here in the Eastern Sierra. I know if you're not here now, I know you're going to be coming here one of these days because it's everybody's favorite place to go in California. We got involved with backcountry access, but also building a trail system. Somebody mentioned kind of the confluence of jurisdictions and things you have to do to get things done in California. We started off with 3 different Forest Service units, 2, 3 or 4 different wilderness areas, Park Service, all the rest of it. And over the course of several years, we worked with the town and federal agencies to combine all this into a coherent Mammoth Lakes trail system. And I'm hoping that you all have trail systems, some degree of a trail system in your community, certainly recreation assets. But that's a little bit about my background.
I'm sorry, John, for interrupting you. I just
Yes.
want to give heads up to East Bay Regional Park Districts
Oh,
and East Bay Mud that we will be asking them to consider this. Go ahead, please.
oh, beautiful. Perfect. Part of the work that we've been doing is to try to find a connection between regions like ours and the state of California and the recreation program, which doesn't really exist in California. So it became apparent that we had to align sustainable outdoor recreation, its economic, its conservation values with the policy objectives of the state of California. So, of course, during COVID, with nothing better to do, we came up with a document called the CalRec Vision. And this was certainly in rural areas, we were getting overwhelmed by folks that needed to get in touch with the outside, get in touch with the outdoors. And we produced this document. It's a white paper for about cross-jurisdictional collaboration to advance sustainable outdoor recreation in California, lining it up with state leadership, with the California regions, which has now blossomed into the California Jobs First initiative. And this CalRec Vision document lined up very nicely with the Wildfire Task Force Resilience Plan. This resilient plan had 99 key objectives that needed to be developed and turned into actionable items. And as Ed mentioned, a gentleman named Patrick Wright, who used to run the Tahoe Conservancy, is now the head of the Wildfire Task Force, called me up one day and said, hey, we've got a strategy, a goal that we have to develop out of the task force, which is to develop a joint strategy to improve access to sustainable recreation. Would you be interested in taking that on? I said, of course. What a profound opportunity. So MLTPA, we got together with an effort that we spearhead called the CalRec Vision, which I just mentioned, and we formed a key working group. And Ed, you kind of scrolled through some of those key working groups for developing the strategies coming out of the task force. And we became the key working group for sustainable recreation as part of the CalRec Vision. Members of our key working group included federal partners, BLM, Forest Service, but also state counties, the Natural Resources Agency, the National Park Service, anybody who's involved in recreation and the landscape of the entire state of California. Wonderful group of people. We worked hard. We had a number of meetings. We produced documents. We talked with practitioners on the ground to produce this joint strategy document, which we're very proud of. We presented to the Wildfire Task Force at one of their meetings. This is one of the regional meetings. This was in Nevada City, I believe, in September of 2022. And we're very pleased to be awarded by the U.S. Forest Service as their Partnership of the Year for producing this document. And the value of this document and the value of recreation in California really cannot be underestimated. California is a great, big, huge, beautiful state. We all are, we enjoy and we love the quality of life that the natural resources bring as we recreate across 100 million acres of land in California that are available for recreation opportunities. And as we all know, about half of the state, the landscape of the state, is managed by the federal government, which is getting to be particularly interesting these days. So the fundamental challenge that the joint strategy addresses is a new approach to sustainable outdoor recreation and wildfire resilience in the state. There are 4 goals in the document. and I'll walk you quickly through those. The first is to integrate forest health and sustainable outdoor recreation. Next slide is going to have some of the key actions, and you can take a quick look at this and see, oh, this might work in West Contra Costa County. This might work in Berkeley. This might work in the East Bay. This might work in the recreation amenities that you all have over in the East Bay area. Public education and forest health projects, develop integrated communication systems. The second goal has to do with the advanced inclusion and access for all throughout California, throughout the entire state. This is not just about Mammoth Lakes when we live out in the rural areas. How do we create statewide school programming? How do we minimize the impact of wildfire-related area and facility closures to public access and recreational use during wildfire treatments or during a wildfire itself? How do we promote the health and well-being of all Californians through outdoor recreation? And as you all know, if there's a big fire up in the mountains or there's a big fire somewhere in the rural areas, that smoke comes to the more populated areas. It comes to San Francisco, it comes to Los Angeles. So how do we really think holistically about that statewide to build partnerships between health and outdoor recreation sectors to improve air quality advisory communication, which is going to be especially important now that NOAA is being downsized. And finally, to support economies that enhance sustainable outdoor recreation. This is certainly true in rural areas, but I'm sure in all the communities that you all represent, the quality of life that comes from parks, that comes from MUPs, that comes from rail trail infrastructure is really, really important. How can we provide technical assistance to local businesses? How do we develop post-fire insurance program for the outdoor recreation economy? These are all the key actions that are in the strategy document. There are things that any local community can look to take on to figure out how do we implement these things at that intersection of our recreation facilities and amenities and the threat of wildfire. Implementation was a little tricky. We were kind of hoping the state and or the Forest Service would step up and start pushing this out to the public. But as all things go in this life, it comes back to the NGOs and the nonprofits and folks like you. They're going to actually get things done on the ground. So let's take a quick look at Mammoth Lakes as an example. That's what I know best. So I'll share some examples of how we're implementing this. We have a wonderful nonprofit. Again, I default back to NGOs and nonprofits who lead the way in so many important aspects in our communities, called the White Bark Institute, which has identified the wildfire threat to Mammoth Lakes. And you can see there's a little green area in the middle. It says Mammoth Lakes, all surrounded by wildfire threats from federal public lands that surround our community. And what's interesting, if you look at this, again, it's sort of a GIS map, you can see these are all the various treatment areas that are funded. Federal government's cut a lot of the funding to these programs and these projects, but they're moving forward. And now I'm just going to overlay all the recreation assets that are critical to our economy that intersect with all this wildfire threat. And you can see trails, roads, campgrounds, bathrooms, parking areas. This is all the facilities and the infrastructure that drives our economy that's under threat from wildfire. Town of Mammoth Lakes, in its infinite wisdom, said, you know what, we're going to adopt this joint strategy. We're going to have this book on the books as the wildfire treatment programs come forward to make sure that our recreation infrastructure doesn't get compromised. Perhaps it even gets improved. So we're going to be ready to deploy recreation assets as part of our defensible space programs that deal with the threat of wildfire. I'm sure many of you probably have what's called multi-use paths or MUPs in your communities. This is our modest little MUP program here in Mammoth Lakes. But we've identified sections of these MUPs that we can use as fuel breaks, as fuel break treatment areas. This is one of the recommendations that's coming out of the joint strategy. And this is just the beginning. As everything gets localized in this new era of this new federal government, we are investing, the town's investing between $500,000 and $600,000 to state to start work on these types of projects, because the intersection of the recreation infrastructure, our quality of life, and our economy and wildfire, those opportunities cannot be overlooked. Here in the Eastern Sierra, we are a recreation and tourism. That's our bread and butter. That's who we are and what we do. There are about 30,000 permanent residents and about 7 million annual visitors that come up here. So this is a very important thing for all of the jurisdictions in our region. The CalREC Vision I mentioned before, we put together a website with a very easy to use toolkit. Where you can go, you can download the joint strategy, you can download draft agenda text should any of your jurisdictions wish to adopt the joint strategy as an advisory document for the work we're all going to be doing at the intersection of wildfire and recreation amenities. This is all happening in in the context and the reality of a federal government with a lot of priorities that may not quite line up with what's going on in California. Certainly, we're seeing that with the forestry stuff, but that's a little bit local and germane to our area here. So we're just getting this whole project started. The town of Mammoth Lakes has adopted the joint strategy, as has our Council of Governments. Inyo County has, Mono County has, Madera County is scheduled to vote in May. And I'm really hoping they're going to get 5 or 6 jurisdictions out of Sohail Avenue group here that they're going to be adopting it as well. And here's the point of all this. These days, all things lead to a QR code. So if you hold your phone up to this, it'll take you to that web page. And you can access the documents, draft agenda documents, the strategy itself, a cheat sheet for your parks department, your recreation department, to make recommendations to your councils, to your authorities to start adopting this. And I'll leave this up, Sayla, as long as you let me, and then I'll be quiet. You've got more important things to worry about. But thank you very, very much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, but I will definitely talk to our city administration, and I'm glad Chief Osorio is here and hearing these too, so we can discuss the next steps. Any questions for John? No? Okay. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you. And if you do get on the agenda, I'm more than happy to travel and speak in public to support it if it ever gets to that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that I may have actually something for you at the mayor's conference. I'll work on it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
So next we have the reports, and I'd like to ask everyone to please keep it to 1 minute so we can finish the agenda in time and let you go by 1 p.m. Can we start with Richmond Fire Department, please, about the new LRA map, and then Fire.
So we, as far as the maps go, we're down to one more meeting that we're going to be presenting at, which is going to be at the RNCC on May 12th. And so we'll be presenting there. What we've done is we created a website that has all the information, and we've kind of used that as the method of the presentation, because it helps folks know how to navigate the website. So that has been a little bit of the problem. We also realized that one of the problems I think we're getting feedback from the community is they're accessing it from a mobile device, and it's not as user-friendly from a iPhone or a tablet. It's really meant to access all this information because there's so many different aspects of this to be accessed from a computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop. So if I can make a recommendation, if you have that type of access and you're interested in seeing all this information and the data and the maps and interact with it the way it was meant to be interacted with, please try to look at it on a website. But I realized we sent QR codes, so we're trying to get people at least to look at it and then maybe follow up on a desktop or a laptop. It's in the workflow for being put on the council agenda item. The plan is to adopt the maps as is and update the city ordinance regarding some fire hazard zones that will have more specific requirements without in the community members that live in those zones to state requirements, which might be more restrictive and actually hard to ever achieve those objectives. So there'll be multiple items coming up in the next few council meetings, but we encourage you to visit the website, go to the city's website, the fire department page. There's a tile that links you to all the information you need to know.
Thank you very much. Michelle, would you like to talk about Fire's LRA map? 1 minute.
Hello, everyone. So similar to Richmond Fire's approach to the LRA maps, and again, local responsibility area maps, has been that we held a public comment period from April 1st to May 1st. Public comment meeting was held in person and online on April 1st. And each jurisdiction within Contra Costa County, actually throughout the state, will complete their adoption process. So Fire's first reading of the maps and ordinance will be this month at our fire board meeting, and all are welcome to attend. It's a public meeting.
Thank you very much. John, are you here? John Kaufman, to report about the Alliance? No? Henry, would you like to provide a brief about Alliance and where we are?
So the Alliance Fire Safe Councils is the Oakland Fire Safe Council, Claremont Canyon Conservancy, Berkeley Fire Safe Council, now the El Cerrito Fire Safe Council, just morphed from Keep El Cerrito Fire Safe to a formal Fire Safe Council, and the West Contra Costa County Fire Safe Council. And Jerry Kent, who I think is part of Claremont Canyon, is also in the group. So we meet monthly. We are aligned with the West Contra Costa Coalition of Governments. We make recommendations to them. We are an advisor to the Coalition of Governments. We try to coordinate our activities and make common appeals. We're currently drafting a letter to PG&E to ask them to increase their budget for wildfire resilience grants. It's a pretty unique program because if private money from a corporation goes through a nonprofit to be used on private property, it doesn't trigger CEQA. So we are trying to get PG&E to commit more money to this. So we're doing a bunch of things like this that are basically common interest to the various cities that are represented by the 6 fire safe councils.
Thank you. I skipped PG&E. I saw people from PG&E. If anybody present here, could you provide a report briefly about the application, fuel reduction grant?
So good afternoon. This is Mike Maskridge from the Public Safety Specialist Group within PG&E. So my group we're the agency representatives, the interface between PG&E and our law and fire partners. So I can't speak specifically to the grants, but Sohelia, I know we did receive your email. We are looking at it internally. We will have team members from our veg reduction group be able to reach out to you directly and provide you with some additional information in that regard. But unfortunately, I'm not positioned to be able to speak to any grants at this particular time. But again, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to have a voice at this forum and to be able to be a partner in our wildfire safety and resiliency program for Contra Costa County.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate the report. For the information of the rest of you, we submitted, I think, 35 applications, and community members participated over $3 million, and we received 0 after spending so much efforts, and the whole community were so hopeful. And interestingly, some of the projects were about safety around PG&E equipment where fires had started before and had to be put off by using helicopters. Thank you, Mike, anyway. And we requested transparency and feedback about how to be more successful next year. Chief Osorio, could you talk about our Wildfire Safety Ad Hoc Committee in the city of Richmond?
You tell me I was going to talk twice at this meeting.
There's one more opportunity for you later on.
You said keep it to 1 minute. I had to prioritize. We met again for the ad hoc committee that was comprised of Councilmember Bana, Councilmember Brown, and Councilmember Zepeda, looking at items such as, is there a need to update municipal code to enforce weed abatement, trying to better define the process when someone is non-compliant and how the enforcement can be accomplished, whether through fines or forced work being done on someone's property. We also looked at other projects that might be useful, such as reevaluating the ban on different types of herbicides or grazing in certain areas that was not allowed before, that would help maintain some vegetation management issues. So right now we have some recommendations we're working on that the goal is to bring those to council and get feedback and see if we can get some movement on a couple different issues.
Thank you very much. PG&E reps, would you like to talk about showing us records of equipment safety? We, the West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council, have been asking for years for records of maintenance of PG&E equipment to ensure that they're being inspected and safe because they have started fires in the past. We never saw any records of safety. Finally, PG&E has agreed to show them to us if we go to their office. And I asked East Bay Regional Park District Chief Healy to go with me because the main concern is about the towers and transmission lines that run through the park. So far, we have been rescheduled twice. I don't know, are we set for May 8th finally? Could someone confirm or?
Hey, so hey, it's Brett from
Oh,
PG&E.
you're here. Thank you, Brad. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
how you doing? I sent an email this morning. It looks like we are set to go. But I'm waiting on one confirmation on our end. But yeah, we got the most recent dates from you, and I sent that over. So hopefully we
Excellent.
can
Thank you.
confirm
We're
that today.
excited about it. Yeah,
Yes.
and I'll share the result with the group via email as soon as we see them. Thank you.
Perfect. Yep, thank you.
Of course. I don't think if John Huang is here, so I'll report. John, are you here? I don't see John. So I told you before about a countywide evacuation plan. And I noticed it because it was designed by CCTA, a transportation agency. It just focused on transportation. So I insisted that the name to be changed into Countywide Evacuation Transportation Study because it was not an evacuation plan. It's a transportation study, $1.5 million, actually 1.7, I guess. It was a little disappointing to me, but I hope one of the outcomes is about secondary egress route for subdivisions that have only one way in, one way out within very high fire hazard severity zones. Michelle, would you like to briefly talk about the Wildfire Community Preparedness Day?
So Hila, let's follow up on the evacuation grant also, because that was not my understanding. Next is the Wildfire Community Preparedness Day, held on May 3rd, last Saturday, from 9 a.m. till noon at our training facility in Concord, with support by several community partners and agency partners. We presented information, most importantly, about the Community Wildfire Protection Plan and the toolkit. This is important because Confire applied and received board approval to receive grant funding to update a countywide CWPP. If awarded, we will follow our proposal, which includes working with local mitigation groups, such as West Contra Costa Fire Safe Council. We'll be working very closely together, and our agency partners on that document update. This is a first step, so think about it just as in the feasibility study. Think of this as a first step to a full update, an actionable update. But what we want to do is really follow the toolkit and get projects such as the PG&E projects and others identified, because then we will then move into eligibility with that document. So more to come on that. I'm about to hear back on my county coordinator grant. Fingers crossed that you'll still have the county coordinator funded in this county. But one of the major initiatives is not only keeping everyone up to date, but really collaborating with the various jurisdictions within Contra Costa. And we made some really good headway in just presenting the CWPP toolkit and working through our plan moving forward. So more to come on that. So Hila and I, will please update the group after we have our conversation, but there's a lot there. It's not just things like evacuation study, but things that are on your agenda today, things that have been something that we've been working on and they lack the funding. This is the pathway to funding. So this will really get that work done. Thanks to Chief Orre for helping us understand this early on and prepare each jurisdiction for what's right around the corner, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. And I'll get back to you for a request for an evacuation study in West Contra Costa County again, which was approved for $500,000. But after that study,
right,
there's not time to talk about it, but
yeah,
talk about it via email.
Great. Thanks.
I have a quick update for you about the proposal for home hardening certificate. So I mentioned it to Senators Grayson and McGuire that we cannot find the general contractors to do home hardening. We cannot even get them to come and provide estimate because the jobs are so small. Installing a vent mesh, you have to do it yourself, or you cannot do it. What if we get the Board of Licensing to provide a license for home hardening? Lower rate, train handyman to do it safely so people with peace of mind can hire him for home hardening and zone zero. They said they're going to look into it, and I hope I have your support for doing so. Chief Osorio, back to you again about the illegal fireworks, and I would love to hear from the county because this is an issue in the entire East Bay Hills, and I'm sure Richmond itself cannot do much. We need collaboration at the regional level, but Chief, please.
So the city's been working on for about 3 weeks now. Police, fire, and public works, kind of a joint three-pronged approach towards it. Fireworks is an extremely big problem in the city of Richmond. It leads up to 4th of July, and then after 4th of July, might also be celebrating the month of July, really. And then same with New Year's. So what we've been working on the fire side is establishing the protocols for the police department to use in the event of confiscation and enforcement, where we take control of the fireworks. We're the contact with, say, fire marshal. We're the one that has chain of custody for the banned fireworks. We're also working on a public education and outreach program in conjunction with Public Works, MPD, where we put the same messaging on all of our social media and digital platforms. Signage in front of the firehouses, and Public Works aspect of that is to add more signage, such as the electrical signs that are on trailers. Main thoroughfares or areas have been identified by community members as hotspots for illegal fireworks usage. And then police department is the actual enforcement arm of this approach. Fire does not go out on site for fireworks. Police department in the city of Richmond does that, but we're just there to support them to make sure they have everything they need as far as what codes are being violated and what their process is once they confiscate. So I think there's also, Councilmember Bond is working on potentially increasing the fines as another tool for deterrent for this. I'll be honest with you, this is not just a wildfire issue. This is a citywide issue. I appreciate the unique hazard it poses to this group, but it equally poses other unique hazards in other parts of the city. We've had structure fires start due to stuff falling on burning material on roofs, backyards. So we have to approach this as a citywide issue, with enforcement being the same, no matter what part of the city you live in, to try to address everybody's unique risk.
Thank you very much. Time for reports on fuel reduction actions, plans, and budgets. So on top of the list, I have Diablo Fire Safe Council, hoping they could talk about the budget. Anyone here from Diablo Fire Safe Council? Apparently not. Okay, so we move to East Bay Regional Park District. 1 minute, please. Just maybe 2 if you're doing a lot.
No, we are doing a lot, but I'll target for this area. Our fuels crew has been doing additional work in Wildcat Canyon Park, strengthening a historic fuel break that was created years ago. This time pushing it back further and making it wider. It is directly near the community of Kensington, so that's getting work done right now. We also have work planned in Wildcat Canyon through a contractor, through a grant that we received. We'll be doing work in a eucalyptus grove in Wildcat Canyon, and we will be doing maintenance either through our crews or through our goat grazing or through our prescribed pylon burning to maintain areas that we've always historically have been doing. And as I wrap it up, in a bigger note, besides Wildcat Canyon and Tilden Park, we received a bunch of grants, and we will be doing work in Tilden Park along with Wildcat Canyon, because we received roughly about $6 million of grants to do work in that area.
Thank you very much. You have in the past provided maps, so in the future, whenever you have map of treatment areas, we greatly appreciate it. The community loves looking at them, and all other agencies as well, please. It would be greatly appreciated. East Bay Mud, please.
Thank you. So on our northern watershed lands, which are those watershed lands that abut sections of the West County District, work is currently underway for fuel reduction in those areas. Treatments include prescribed grazing with goats and cattle, roadside disking and disking around residential developments, primarily Carriage Hills North and South. Also, our fire road system throughout that area is undergoing its annual maintenance, which includes mowing adjacent to the roadways, the fire roads, the dirt fire roads, as well as grading the fire roads to ensure safe and expedient access for fire apparatus. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Again, if you could provide a map, that'd be awesome if you find the time to do so. PG&E, please.
Hi, this is Mike Maskridge again. I don't have anything further to add, and I don't know if any of my colleagues on the call have anything either. So if there is, anybody feel free to provide any additional context or information.
Yeah, any fuel reduction plans or actions by PG&E? Seems like none. We move to Caltrans. Do we have someone from Caltrans? I heard that they're going to have a new vegetation map based on the new LRA map. Hey, Lori, thank you.
Thanks, Sohaila. We don't have updated information regarding the LRA maps yet, but we do have GIS dashboard. It's our planning website, and I can put, since we probably don't have time for me to show it, I'll put those in the chat. And I also wanted to share our treatment dashboard, which is vegetation that's treated by our own Caltrans crews. The planning dashboard is more information that's going to be like our emphasis for the next 5 years, but it will also be that those areas will be more treated by the fuels reduction service contracts that we're going to be having done with contractors. Our contracts are every 2 years, and our next one is going out, is going to be advertised probably at the end of this month. And it will be from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2027. And then we're going to start our next one that will begin in 2027. Our current fuels reduction contract is ending next month. And so all that information will be shown in the planning dashboard, the GIS map viewer. And so I'll put those links in the chat.
Please, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
City of Richmond, do we have anyone from Public Works here to report? And especially in the chat, we had a question about weed abatement and fuel reduction in the city. None? Okay. Chevron? Do we have a rep from Chevron talk about their fuel reduction?
Hey, this is Hakeem here. I don't know, I don't have the specifics of it, but I do know that some information was sent over. Not quite sure if Chief Joseph has any more to add there.
I could speak on that a little bit on our aspect. Chevron annually they submit a vegetation management plan to the fire department as part of our on-site inspector program. They began work months ago. And a lot of it started in the areas that were adjacent to the residents in the Point Richmond area. They've been actively working on that plan and knocked out the majority of that plan already. And our inspectors checking in on the progress of that plan as time goes on. So they've submitted everything, and I know there was going to be a grazing aspect to it, and I don't know if that started, but the fire marshals and the on-site inspector have been dealing with that.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of reports on fuel reductions. And now we get to the best part, and we only have a few minutes for requests for enhancing wildfire safety. So the first one goes to Confire and actually the Richmond Fire Department about installing fire danger today signs. So Confire installed one, it fell down, and they never reinstalled it. on San Pablo Dam Road and Castle Ranch Road. Michelle, if you could provide the timeline, and also there was one supposed to be on Appian Way and San Pablo Dam Road.
Hey, Chief. If we could touch base on this, because this is actually layered. And so, Hala, if we could all be on the same call, I'd just like to get everybody on the same page because I have some experience in this area, and we've met some challenges along the way.
And I heard that the city's public works has done a much better job, and apparently Fire didn't employ their public works to do it. But if you want, I'll be happy to follow up on.
Sure. So the short story is that the original placement of the sign was on private property and just adjacent to a unhoused community at Robert Miller Drive, and that the sign was not only knocked down, but was used for possibly a fire. So there's a lot of information here, and there's a lot of history. So Chief Osorio was not the chief at the time when this started, and I think it's only fair that I bring him up to speed and we work together and then update the community.
Okay, let's just start an email thread and follow up so we can let the community know when the signs will be installed, hopefully before the beginning of fire season, which is like end of May. And Chief, we also have a request for a fire danger sign at Hilltop Green Community, which is one way in, one way out. So the next one goes to Chief Healy and East Bay Mud about park closures on red flag days. It's been a year that the community members have requested it, actually, not the Fire Safe Council. We've been just the conduit to pass the request. Can we have the parks closed on red flag days?
Hi, that's not the park district has a fire danger operating guide of how we go about closing parks. And unfortunately, it does not work off of requests from the community. How it does work is we have remote weather operating stations throughout the district, and we restrict activities that cause fires within our parks based off that system. So for example, on days when the fire weather starts to get very high to all the way to extreme or red flag days, we restrict the activity that causes fires, like driving off roads, using barbecues, smoking in the parks, things like that. That's been very effective on us. There's one criteria that is the main criteria that when we would close a park, and it's not just red flag days, it's red flag days along with drawdown of local fire resources. For example, for what I can remember off the top of my head back in 2000, I think it was 2019, if you could have access to the local database that shows the resources available in the county, most of our resources were deployed to fighting fires throughout the state of California. On those days, it means that if we were to have a significant fire, we would not have, mutual aid coming immediately. So along with red flag days and a drawdown of local resources, that meets the criteria of closing our parks, but it's just as simple as a particular community group wants the parks closed. What we do to make it so that the parks are safer, besides restricting activities that cause fire, we increase our staffing so that along with the restrictions we put in place, our additional resources can make it so that people who do want to be able to go in the parks and enjoy, they still can, and it also makes it so that it's still safe from wildfire risk. Also, I wanted to bring up a point. I'm glad that the people are concerned about restrictions or closing the parks. The Park District, as you just heard, has a plan in place called the Fire Danger Operating Plan, and it restricts activities. But what we don't have is the same for the community. And 90% of wildfires start half mile from a city road, and most of them are human caused. And so the Park District has already done its part on making sure that we can do the portions of that control or cause fire to start. What we would like to see is the community do more of their part. So when you hear chiefs speak about home hardening efforts and things like that, there's data points about 80-20, which basically says when 80% of the community does home hardening, it significantly causes wildfire risk to be lower. The embers that would blow and cause fires to ignite homes are significantly reduced when 70 to 80% of the community does their home hardening. So when we're focused on the 20% and looking somewhere else, when that's already got a plan in place, Park District spends millions of dollars in mitigating risk, I would also like to see the community do their portion, which is at 80%, they can allow their homes to be safer, because it's not just the Park District, it's a combined effort. It's not the me as the Park District, it's the we as a community that's going to make this a safer place.
Thank you very much. We're working hard on it, but it's good that they hear it from you too, and we'll emphasize on it. Quick question.
I just want to, this is Scott Hill from East Bay Mud.
Sure.
Be quick. I know we're short on time. East Bay Mud has almost the identical system to what Chief Haley just described, where we have a fire weather operating plan that's based on fire weather indices, as well as resources available for fire suppression in the event of a fire. In addition to that, we add additional patrols during periods of high fire danger. And our program is the same, where we modify our operations, we put restrictions in place commensurate with the conditions, and up to including closures. And that applies to all our watershed lands, as well as the developed recreation areas on those watershed lands. In addition to that, we act in concert with East Bay Regional Parks, so we're not making actions independently, which could push people from our lands over into the parks and exacerbate the problem. So it's a well-coordinated effort between our two agencies to ensure the most, the highest level of regional protection we can provide in the open space lands in the East Bay, Alameda, and Contra Costa counties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last question, and we're out of time. Chief Healy, how about PDS days, a particularly dangerous situation? Would you close on those days?
There are a couple scenarios where we close parks besides red flag days, and that would be a significant emergency, within the park. One I could think of would be if we had a large wildfire, adjacent to a park that's connected, and that we felt that there was a possibility for it to get there. Or if we had a large earthquake or something like that that really affected infrastructure of some sort. There's other criteria that causes parks to be closed, but those are extremely rare events. And one thing we have done as a park district, behind the scenes, they've made the system more consistent, which will be helpful for the public, so that, for example, you won't have one area that has a park closed and another area that doesn't, but yet fit the same criteria. So we've made some internal adjustments behind the scenes so that things are more streamlined, but mainly consistent, so that everybody else can understand, why we close parks and what the criteria is. And all the things that we do, like the FDOT fire danger operating plan I just explained, is all available on our public website. I just gave you the Cliff Note version, so you don't have to read the hundreds of pages that's in that document. It's literally our current fire danger operating plan is the same as CAL FIRE's. We have an index within that same plan, and all of that is based off data, which is extremely important in our line of work, versus our actions are based off data and nothing else. Let's put it that way.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, everyone. And I apologize for running slightly over time. I will send the recording to you soon. Thanks again, and let's stay in touch until our next meeting in 3 months. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.